Classic Conversations. My name is Fresh. Got Jay Ward with us today. And as always, Vic. Today is kind of a somber day, obviously, with the passing of Nipsey Hussle and the effect that it's taken on all of us. So forgive us if we're not extremely energetic or in a usual form, but we'd like to talk about and discuss the effect that Nipsey had on each of us. Obviously, the effect of his passing, maybe general stories that we may have of meeting Nipsey or hearing him for the first time, or the first time that you heard that he was involved in philanthropy and giving back to his community. The impact that this man left us. Unfortunately, that comes after after his death, which is the fucked up part. That he didn't get the radio play till he died. He didn't get the recognition from the masses until he died. Obviously, the news jumped on it. It's a major story, but I definitely feel better that they didn't call him, a gang member or something. They definitely referred to him in the correct fashion. Community activist, community leader, right? So they didn't stomp on his name. But the fact is, none of those outlets gave him any pub beforehand. When he opened up Vector 90 or when he opened up the Marathon store, very little, coverage from the mainstream was given to him for all of the good things he was doing for the black community or the community at whole, which was, bringing people together. He didn't get that. So obviously it's a fucked up thing that he finally got it in his death, which is, in my humble opinion, very hypocritical and very much just in essence, clout chasing. You know what I mean? For not just the media, but for a lot of individuals. I've seen some posts of some individuals where they said, they called it like they saw it, and they said very realistically and very honestly that they didn't follow Nipsey. Country Wayne was one of them. He said it straight up. He said he didn't follow Nipsey before, and I appreciate his honesty. So that to me says that he's not just doing it for clout chasing. But what he did say that really impressed me was that instead of replying right away, he went back and looked up all of the things that Nipsey did and familiarized himself with Nipsey, right? And then decided to post, his people that follow him were asking him for a post. And then after kind of, looking at the situation, he made a really good point that this is the kind of point, dude was talking about a lot of things in life, about living in a certain fashion. And so he said, niggas always, now it's RIP because he passed, but what about LIP, right? Live in peace, meaning with all this said and done after the fact, where was all of this while he was living? Where was all of the support, right? How many people went to Vector 90, right? How many people, bought a mixtape? How many people, participated in any one of his philanthropic events,
right?
Or even just retweeted, any of those announcements that he put out for any of the things that he was doing? Very little of them, right? So it's cool for people to feel a certain sort of way. I'm sure it touched a lot of people, but I believe some of those people need to mourn in peace, because it either looks like they're clout chasing or they really are. Either it's for a like, it's for a heads up, double tap, whatever. But some people are obviously clout chasing, and that's been the thing that has kept me from actually saying something on social media, is just the fact that I just don't want to be one of the many masses who just decided to mourn in public to get some likes or for the attention that I may get. Obviously, each and every person has to kind of make that decision on their own. I'm not saying everybody did, but there were some people that raced to be the first to say, rest in peace, and this is what I'm gonna do for my platform. Oh, I'm a financial advisor, so rest in peace, Nipsey. I started a fund to continue doing things that he donate to the fund. It's like, okay, cool, but you already merged his RIP with your platform. It sounds like you trying to get the benefit out of his death, and that's not the first thing. It's happened with Pac, it happened with Big, happened with everybody. Where there's always somebody that came around and, you know, tried to take a benefit from it, a financial benefit. But I think this one is much worse because he was such a giving person. For any one person to be thinking about their own benefit from his death is much more of a disrespect than most. But, you know, that's just kind of how I feel about what I've seen post death. Obviously, just like everybody else, he was a hero of mine. I was kind of overly critical of him, you know, over in like the last kind of think 2 conversations we had ago. I was overly critical of him signing to the label, you know, because I was really rooting for him to continue to stay indie and not have to be a part of the system. You know, fuck the system. And then, you know, as of late, I said that a lot of his music was better when he did features. I was really a fan of him and Meek together, and I wish that could have happened. You know, going forward, the features he did with Dom Kennedy, the features he did with T.I., those are amazing to me. But, you know, I think his biggest stamp was what he did for the people and why he did it, which is for the people. So, you know, definitely, again, a somber moment. I know that you told me a quick story about how he came to your school or was supposed to.
Oh yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah, I was the president at Culver City High School in 2009 and 2010, and that's like right around the time Bullets Ain't Got No Names Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a couple, you know, older homies that was from the area and that was coaching on the team too. So they introduced me to him. They took me over to like on Slauson and introduced me to him, and at the Slauson Tees, and he was supposed to perform at the school, and the principal, I guess he just happened to at lunch just watch the Hustle in the House video, and she called me in there and was like, oh no, this is not happening. Like, this is not going down. I was like, man, I was really just looking forward to that. But hey, going to school in Culver City, that's what happened though.
Right.
You feel me? If I was in the LA Unified, they would for sure probably let that slide.
Yeah. Obviously then, he wasn't that deep into the philanthropy yet.
For sure.
So, you know, there was obviously just one image that was thought of him from the outside. But you actually got to meet him a couple of times, talk to him on the phone too?
Yeah, the first conversation I ever had with him was on the phone, just about, you know what I'm saying, if he was with performing at the school at all.
Okay.
So that was a quick little conversation, but that was, how old was I? I'm 26 now, and I was,
hey bro, don't tell
16.
Don't tell him your age, because then I had to tell him mine, and we don't do that.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel you though, but okay. So I was 16 when I had that conversation, like that first little interaction, and then you know, that's definitely something, a little moment in history for myself. You know what I mean? To have a conversation with somebody that ended up being this powerful and impacting the world like that.
Yeah, I met him a couple times too. My people's Lawrence from 1500, and we all know Lawrence. Lawrence is a really good dude, really kind of cut from the same cloth. Lawrence does his philanthropic things too. 1500 Sound Academy, which is for the community, for youth that want to get involved. So, you know, and those are probably the two that sat around and talked the most about those things and planned and plotted. I saw Lawrence said that they had been talking about that for like 10 years. Of all the things that he's done, they kind of thought about that and talked about it in their private conversations. But being really cool with Lawrence, and the fact that Lawrence is really a good dude, he, you know, would always let me be around. And so, you know, over at 1500 Studios, I was there one day and then walked in and shook my hand. I didn't really have much to say to him, you know. It was kind of, they was doing their thing. But Rance being a good dude, he said, oh, you know, hey, Fresh, he produced, bro. And it was like, hey, bro, send me some stuff, like take my shit down. And he actually did jump on a record that I had for Young Walt. Young Walt was working on a project and had Nipsey jump on it. I wish I could find that record just for my own personal collection, so I could just reflect on it. But I had to hit up Walt and see if he still got that. But you know, I was blessed to have actually done a record with him in my career, and then a couple other times, always pretty much in the studio. I think Capitol Records one night, Lawrence was working on something, told me to come through, and Nipsey came through. Wasn't really working on anything, so he was just chilling. And that night, we all kind of had some conversations. So I did get a chance to chop it up with him that night. Always a good soul. Do you ever get the chance to meet him?
Man, I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but I seen him like a couple times. You feel me? It was the same thing. I was at the studio.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled up, and I saw him and Dom leaving.
Right.
You feel me? And I'm like young. I was a young nigga, like 17, 18. So to pull up to the studio and to see a Maybach and G-Wagons pull out the studio, and I'm the next session, I feel like I'm doing something special. But like we looked up to them. You feel me?
Right.
Like the first time I listened to Nip, I was like a freshman in high school, and it was a summertime. You know what I'm saying? And we had left practice. We had to be back. You feel me? But we left to go get some food and smoke and shit. The homie was like, "Hey, y'all heard of Nipsey Hussle?" I was like, "Nah, like Nipsey Hussle, who the fuck is that?" Like, bro, he's from 60s, bro. Like, you know, he a real gangbanger, but his shit hard. Nigga played the Marathon. We was hotboxing, listening to the Marathon. It was over since that day, you feel me? I didn't even know about gangbanging like that, but it was like, that shit was the realest shit I ever heard, you feel me?
Bro, another funny thing, we played Morningside and Inglewood was in our league, so we had a basketball game versus Morningside, and I don't know who was the DJ, first song they dropped, and it was like all Bloods in the stands, Hustle in the house. They played that at the basketball game in the Culver City gym, and like the whole gym erupted, like people really knew word for word, and I'm looking around like, I heard it on the tape, and I knew it was hard, but I ain't know everybody really knew it like that. And it was really like making noise in the gym for real. And I was like, that's the first time I seen like somebody really sing a Nip song word for word like that, because that Hustling House for sure had max energy.
Right. Yeah, that's actually, it's crazy. A lot of people might not understand it, but that's actually still my favorite Nip record. You know, like that says a lot for an artist that the first record that they dropped could, you know, be such a powerful record in my mind. The way that they was put together, like I'd heard of them before that, but you know, just round the way mixtapes. I was actually, you know, running around in the neighborhoods though. You know, that at that period of time, I was hanging around over there. I seen him a million times. You know, just regular Nip, like just nigga just be around.
Right.
He wasn't nobody special, just nigga banging. You know. And you know, then for him to go and have that much of a support section, like the video, we look at it and he had all the homies out, the whole hood support.
You see, what's little scrappy girl? What's her name? You know what I'm talking about? Whoever little scrappy girl wife is, that's like he had like real video girls in the video, but mixed with everybody else from the hood. Like they got two actors and all the other extras are real.
Yeah. I mean, that showed you the greatness of him. You know, Big U definitely found a good protege to work with and did his thing, you know, supporting him, you know, on the business side, on the management side. But that whole thing came together. You know, it didn't hurt that he really kind of embodied like a young Snoop at the beginning.
Right.
Like even if you look at their mannerisms when they first got in the industry, when you're still kind of cautious and you're not really. They both had that same mannerism, kind of quiet, but, you know, definitely confident. So he really kind of, he was like the Crip mascot. Like, you know what I mean? Even so much so that I see a lot of him in like Dave East, right? Dave East, obviously they was close.
Right.
But like when I see Dave East, I see him I see him looking over going like, yeah, hey, what Nip do? Oh, okay, I'm gonna grow my hair out. So he grew his hair out, right? Like, this nigga's the Crip, the example of a Crip, right?
Right.
But the example of a intellectual Crip, maybe, you know what I mean?
Like it's deeper than gangbanging.
Yeah, much deeper, and found a way to transcend that, and not even just transcend it, but you know, go back and help his homies transcend it too. You know, you got some other dudes that are real cool who bang and kind of transcended that. Waka Flocka is one of them, right? Dude is came a long way. You know what I mean? There's very few people that can actually transcend that shit. Most people kind of just stay in that shit their whole career, you know, and don't ever say nothing that kind of make you think. But Nip definitely did it gracefully, and never having done it without alienating himself, you know, from the hood, which is kind of like considered selling out.
Yeah.
He never did that. He was able to walk that very thin line of being transcendent and still being real.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, maybe that might have been the thing that contributed, the very fact that he was still able to touch the people and not like some big where he always has security around him. I mean, I've heard stories where he's had a lot of security around him. There was supposed to be a video that he shot like a couple weeks before that where it was on a parking structure and they were supposed to buy out the whole parking structure.
Oh, yeah,
and they only did like two floors, and they had to go back and, you know, buy it out because they, you know, they didn't want nobody else to come upstairs.
Right.
And I guess they were afraid of somebody assaulting them or wanting to kill him. So obviously he was on high alert. He knew kind of something that was, you know, out there, which may be the reason why he sent that last text. What was it that he said?
Talking about a tweet?
Yeah.
He said it's good to have strong enemies.
Yeah, strong enemies are a blessing.
Oh yeah, strong enemies are a blessing.
Yeah, so obviously dude knew that there was something that was coming against him, but usually there is when you're doing the things that you're doing. But again,
I mean, so do you think that's gonna? My thoughts are: do you think that is going to render, or is it going to kind of like throw the next person that wants to walk in that path off? And you think that's gonna like scare them off of trying to take that approach?
I mean, there's kind of two answers to that, at least in my opinion. One is, you know, I'm definitely the conspiracy theorist, like with no shame whatsoever. Like I'm gonna look in the camera and say, "That's me." I don't care. You know what I mean? I think deeper, and I think that a lot of people should think deeper. Like, like people are protecting their frail realities by not heeding the signs, and they just want to look past it or overlook it or discount it as, you know, foolishness, just so that they can keep their little realities comfortable and cozy and not have to know that there's
challenge
without challenging it. Like niggas is like, oh, the boogeyman don't exist. When I'm like, that nigga in there with Freddie, you know what I mean, Jason and all of them. I'd rather see what's coming. You know what I mean? I'd rather know my enemy for who he is as opposed to being blindsided. So what I think, you know, what I really think is I think that it was more to it. Like, you know, the black hand of the establishment. They used a black man like they usually do when they, let's use the word, assassinate great figures in the, you know, the black community, Malcolm X, you know, the Black Panthers and black man. You know, I believe it was the first black FBI agent with the Black Panthers that they used to infiltrate. So they always do that. And ain't no white man gonna come in there and do that shit because they, you know, it's obvious. They make it look like that. So with that said, they always do it on a public stage, right? A very, very, very public stage. Martin Luther King was killed on the balcony. Malcolm X was killed in the ballroom in front of, you know, the people that were there, obviously. And then, who can I think of? You know, John F. Kennedy was shot on a thoroughfare, right, in front of everybody with media, right? So they always do those things publicly to send out the message, right? So anybody that want to follow in these footsteps, this is what you can expect. So, you know, I saw it. With that said, will it deter? I feel like it will deter a lot of people. But just as Pac getting killed didn't deter Nipsey, there will be others that will take that man. I was talking to Jay Ward just, you know, before the show, and he definitely said that with what he knows, you know, and what he's seen with Nipsey's, you know, blueprint and having passed that 33 years, if he were to know that he only had 10 years and that, you know, and his life would be taken, he would do it. He would give his life for the purpose, right? And so that's what we need. We need people who are not afraid of death. The problem is we don't have enough of them, so they can single us out. But if we have multiple people, a group, you can't stop us. That's the problem. We don't have enough people who are willing to give their life for the cause.
Facts.
That's just kind of how I see it. That's really just what about you? You think people would be scared?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Really with the kind of like challenging people's natural thought process, you know what I'm saying?
Self-preservation, yeah.
Right, it's like, I mean, put it like, even when you go to the conversation, like, people say, like, when you say, like, Jesus is black, right? I'll hear certain black people be like, it don't matter. Like, it's a deeper conversation because, for me, just to keep it general, I just say it's about representation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still a lie at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So that's my thing. So you got people that's like that who are just generally gonna be like, I'm not challenging anything about what I've learned, what I've taught, how I've been raised, and I'm gonna keep it that way. But at the same time, those are the people who always get caught off guard. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that everything that challenges your thought process is true, but at the same time, at least do some research on it or look into it just to make sure, like, okay, I'm knowledgeable about the shit at least. So if I'm wrong, I can be like, okay, I know how to fix it and I know how to act on it.
Yeah, but questioning things is healthy. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, and also I think just with minorities in general, you know, like, we've just adapted the kind of like the evolution theory, like with Darwinism, and it's kind of like survival of the fittest. Because at the end of the day, it's not that we have a hate for each other. You know what I'm saying? Like a natural created hate for each other. It's just like being hungry creates envy. Like you see a big steak on somebody else's plate. If you're an animal in the animal kingdom, or you see a big animal that they eating and you ain't ate in 2 days, it's like you're naturally gonna envy that. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna want to take it because you're gonna think like, why does he deserve that and I don't? I work just as hard as that person does. But that's just like natural thought, and it takes just you to mature as an individual as you get older to be able to realize that and be able to call yourself out on it before you project that out into the world.
Well, that's kind of crazy because, you know, when you say that, I think that might have been one of the defining moments for Nipsey, was because he wasn't, he was a first generation American.
Right.
His parents did not come from America. So obviously he didn't have the slave gene, let's call it the slave gene, passed down, which we know of. Is psychologically, right, us black Americans, right, descendants of slave, have some psychological things left over from that. There's some people that call it post-traumatic slave disorder. My pops used to tell me to check out a lady named Joy DeGruy who coined that phrase apparently. But what we know about like Willie Lynch, right, he separated us, you know, that is slave breaking, where they took one and fucked him up in front of everybody. Like the master would either fuck him in the ass or tie him to 2 horses and rip him apart in front of everybody to scare the rest of them in, you know, straight, which is obviously kind of the same situation that I'm saying. But that Willie Lynch shit is definitely still in us, and he guaranteed it to work for 400 years, and I believe that 400 years up this year in August, from what I've been told. I think this is the 400 year, but he guaranteed it to work for at least 400 years. Psychologically, we are still programmed to not fuck with each other. Dark skin versus light skin, east side versus west side, poor versus rich, whatever, you know, whatever kind of division we can find. It's almost like we look for it. Even in Nipsey death, the people who are conspiracy theorists versus the people who think simply, and everybody's arguing about it. Like, it shouldn't even be like that.
I would say, at the basis of everything, right?
Yep.
People were, or the news and social media were saying, like, we're trying to make it seem like the city was about to erupt in, like, a Grand Theft Auto war zone, you feel me? When, at the same time, most of those people that were talking have no idea what the temperature was in LA or is in LA. You feel me? Because I feel like this is the first time I've ever been alive in my lifetime. I've ever been alive. This is the first time in my lifetime since I've been alive that I've seen everybody in Los Angeles agree on one thing. Like from the SA hoods to the Crips to the Bloods. Ain't nobody dissing. I see dudes from Inglewood posting Nip. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you know what I'm saying? That's real general respect. And not even on a social level, just on a
human, like,
on a human level, yeah. Like not because of the rapping, you know what I'm saying? It's just because of the energy that he provides and the motivation that he supplies. So, I mean, more than anything, I think that a lot of people will be more inclined to do better for themselves at this point, because whoever thought, niggas thinking that we just finished talking about Meek Mill and Nipsey album on the last show. You feel me? So it's like, come on now, we talking about that. Ain't nobody in a million years would have predicted this right here. You know what I'm saying? If a man would have came and said, I predict that Nipsey about to die, you feel me? Niggas would look at this man like he crazy.
But that's why it had to be somebody from his own hood, though.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Nobody, that's as crazy and fucked up as that sounds. It had to be somebody from his own hood, because everybody else got too much respect for him. You feel me? Like, how that don't even make sense to me to, like, say it out loud.
When it happened, I already know. I'm like, it's not even on no gang banging shit, because I'm like, nobody's gonna do that. Like, nobody's gonna do that.
After all these years, like, he would have been dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like he was hiding. You feel me? Like, if you was an enemy, you been knew where Nipsey Hussle was. You knew where he was gonna be. It's LA, like, it's a small city.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
That's like how he said in that song, like, when he was talking about Fats, like, how you died 30-something after banging all those years, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, then the same thing happened to him. That's definitely deep. It's definitely fucking deep. But, you know, shit. Boosie was the one who said it, called it out, said it the best. Most rappers gonna die in their own hood. And one of our guests that we have from a previous episode, Crystal, who was a part of, like, the Battle of the Sexes episode where we were talking to the young ladies, she put up a biblical quote, said a prophet is loved everywhere but in his hometown, right? And so if we look at what Nipsey did, he's definitely a new age, prophet. I'm not talking about like a biblical prophet, but he was definitely prophetic, you know what I mean, with the message that he spread it about, definitely rising up, changing your circumstances and your surroundings. And, his name stands for God will rise, right? So I believe definitely he was touched by the hand of God. So definitely prophetic. So if that's correct, prophet is loved everywhere but in his home. Doesn't mean that the people in your home ain't gonna love you, but that means the people that mean to do you harm are gonna come from your home. So I agree with Jay Ward. Like, it had to be. Yeah, it had to be. So shit. I guess we're gonna take a little quick break and come back in a second. Classic Conversation, Fresh, Jay Ward, and Vic.